Hello everybody, and welcome to a Prismata commentary by Wonderboat. We have a live game right now between Mega-supp and Dusk, who are around the 1900 range on average. Base set +8. Let's check it out. Mega-supp is P1. He's considering 3rd NG. The set has Wincer and Bombarder as very notable combination of tech that works well together. There's Savior, Vivid Drone, and Trinity Drone, so there's 3 economic units available. As far as Absorb, there's Omega Splitter and Bombarder. The Omega Splitter doesn't have a lot of support for the 3 blue, whereas the Bombarder, like mentioned earlier, has quite a bit of support, so... Seems to me like the Wincer is also pretty safe, so I think that's what they're going to be aiming for. So Mega-supp went for the 3rd Engineer, basically like slow conduit, but with upside because he's using Vivid Drone. Top is of course using Trinity Drone because he's P2, so it's kind of like the same as 3rd Engineer if you want it to be, or if you don't want it to be, then you just stay on your natural conduit. And he decides to go for the 3rd Engi variant. So he's basically just 3rd Engineer P2, but with, you know, upside of being able to turn the conduit into a drone at any point if he would want to. Mega-supp considering getting the blast after his slow conduit. That gives him a lot of flexibility. Like, he can still go coils, or he can just get the Wincer set up, which is what I expect him to do. And top going for the blast, basically the same thing as bottom, but just, you know, slower with the 3rd Engi. Mega-supp goes for the coil here, which does have really nice synergy with Vivid in the set, because you can actually use all of this energy, whereas normally, you know, the coil doesn't really give you energy, right? However, it does run into a wall, and like there are absorbers in this set, so not really sure I like that from him. You know, if it has good follow-up, it's fine, but the follow-up is really just splitters and Gauss cannons. I mean, sure, he could like go up to Wincer or Bombarder, but it would be better to just do that immediately instead of buying, you know, 3 damage into a wall. So Dusk goes for an Animus, I guess just trying to ramp his attack instead of immediately going for the big units. And bottom does go for the big tech now. And judging by the amount of actual drones he has, it's probably more of a Bombarder play, which I think is fine. You know, it's really good to use these efficient drones and forego Wincer. I mean, the Wincer is still fine, but it's pretty logical given how much energy he has, I think. So I think in top's position, you gotta buy these Tarsiers. You went Animus, so it's gonna be for Tarsiers. He did have Coil as an option, but it just runs into an Absorber, so he just wants to play slower and get his own Bombarders or Wincer. And I'm not sure which one he's going to go for. I would probably expect a Bombarder, given how few drones he has. Like physical, only 7 drones. And also there's just a lot of pressure from bottom, so getting an Absorber up feels pretty good. He is going second, but I think he has compensation by the fact that bottom bought a coil that ran directly into the wall. So I don't hate his position. But if this is just turning into like Bombarder plus Vivid Drone plus coil, I feel like these guys went pretty slow. Which, you know, is fine. Maybe they're, you know, respecting Wincer or other plans. So bottom bought a Rhino against the 1 damage, I believe, right? That doesn't seem very good to me. You just get a free splitter hold, and you could have just bought damage, which you kind of need. Oh, and by the way, he does go for the Wincer, which is very interesting. We got some asymmetrical here. It could be pretty tough for bottom to hold on. Like, there's Fibroid for like essentially Gauss charges, and there's the Bombarder pressure as well. Makes the Tarsiers like a little bit weak in my opinion. Like, the point of Wincer is to kind of deny Absorb by just having it be your first attacker. But it could be fine if he has tempo to like use those Tarsiers to get Bombarders and actually deal damage, so. He did buy the Engineers to get the Bombarders, but bottom has 10 damage coming in. I would also really like to see him click this Bombarder. Like, not because it kills the Fibroid necessarily, but just because it's, you know, usually good to click bombs. Holding a bomb is similar to holding a Redeemer, like you really don't want to. If it lets you buy a Bombarder though, obviously it becomes a little bit better, but, you know, the walls and clicking bomb would also let him buy Bombarders, so. Yeah, it's an interesting game. Bottom has a lot of economy, but like there's not much soak in the set, so I'm not sure that's very justified. He just doesn't have that much damage either. I like the Vivid drone use. I just didn't really like the coil. That's the part I didn't really like. So top will have the tempo to get a Bombarder, which is absolutely fantastic for his position. Getting the Absorber and getting the pressure for his Windsor is really strong here. And next turn, you know, he might get the Fibroids or just a Bombarder. Either way, he can get a lot of pressure with his Windsor. And I really like these NGs coming out of him. Like, all he needs is tempo so that he can buy the pressure units. No need to add on the drones yet. You can add on the drones later for your Windsor. It's not like bottom has that much permanent damage anyways, like you're gonna have no problem getting drones. Especially with the Bombarder tempo coming back. So I like clicking both the bombs here, and just buying a bunch of defense. And that's what he goes for. I don't think I like the Tarsiers, but you kinda need them, because if you're not adding damage, then like what are you doing? So like hopefully this gets there. His actual prompt defense is really not that high. Like double wall, double rhino, force field, you know. Might have to soak one of his Bombarders, which is not great, but not the end of the world either. But yeah, it just feels like top's got a really good position in this game. He's only down like 3 drones after you consider the conduit. Now let's see how the tempo situation is here. Let's see, he needs 14 defense. So he's 1 short of doing his preferred defense. So I think the best thing for him to do is just soak the Bombarder, unfortunately. Or he can do this and not fire the coil. Which, I don't know, I feel like that comes out similar. Clicking coil is 2 value, and clicking bomb is 3 value. So like, you would expect the bomb click to be better, I suppose. But like, this does make you hold a drone. Whereas normally you don't have to, and you keep granularity, and you get to buy an NG, so it's kind of a complicated transaction. I'm really not sure which one's better, but I kind of lean on the coil click and letting your bomb die. Seems a little bit better to me. So definitely a pretty good Windsor turnout here. The pressure was real. But top's gonna have to rebuy those drones. And now bottom got some Tarsiers, so they'll have some pressure to make getting the drones harder for top. But it does feel like top has a little bit more, I guess, attacking potential. You know, they have roughly the same permanent attack, but like the Windsor in exchange for the drones, essentially. Which I would probably favor the Windsor. I mean, you can't really get breached either, right? If you get breached, you lose your Absorber, the Bombarder, you lose some Vivids, maybe Tarsiers. So you can't really get breached in a situation like this, making the Windsor very potent. So in the end, he holds coil and holds Bombarder. Does that make sense? I guess it did. Maybe I wasn't looking and he was... Yeah, I'm not sure. I thought it was one or the other, but I can't remember anymore. So bottom is losing his Bombarder and a Rhino here, so he's -4. Top is clicking his 1 stamina Bombarder because it kills the Bombarder of the opponent, which is great value, I would say. You lose an Absorb, but you get a bunch of tempo next turn. It's a pretty great deal. And he's buying another Bombarder, which is really good for his tempo situation. Even after Windsor fires, he's immediately against 12 damage again. That's very nasty. Bottom is just stuck on permanently defending with his huge amount of drones. Not really a good position. It essentially means you bought all those drones for soak, not for attack. You want drones for attackers. So he's figuring out his defense here. I feel like it's better to Fibroid instead of Rhino. Like, I know you have Trinity drone click, but Rhino soak is not really ideal. I think it's just basically a gold loss, if I'm not mistaken. Like, Fibroid and Rhino have the same health, but once you click Trinity, it's like a 4 gold Fibroid, but a 4 gold Fibroid is better than a Rhino, so I'm not sure about that one. So Dusk is getting his drones back up. It's totally fine to buy a Windsor where you just have to like buy the actual drones. It's still like really good. It's a little bit different than Plasma, where it's like kind of bad when you have to buy the drones every turn. They just function a little bit differently. It's still fine to buy a Plasma that you have to buy them every turn. It's just not as good. Same with Windsor, to be fair. In theory, you don't want to have to rebuy them, but in practice, you often do. So bottom is buying preemptive defense and trying to click the Bombarder. No, he can't. Yep, still looking pretty good for top here. It's again just a bunch of drones versus, you know, attackers and tempo, basically. And the drones just don't do very much. They're just buying soak. So Mega-supp going for the preemptive Windsor defense, because the Windsor's coming in next turn. Here comes the pressure play from Dusk. He gets the drones he needs for Windsor, and he gets those Fibroid Gauss charges and a Bombarder. That's going to be a lot of damage. That's like 25 damage right there. Mega-supp starting with 13. 12 if he clicks Coil. So he needs 14 prompt. Getting 14 prompt, not so easy. Can't even click the Coil. And that's game. Good game. Well played by Dusk.